All right, here's part two of the questions I asked the town council. So we'll continue with the recording from the meeting.
Any other comments? I'll continue. The only public document says have been able to secure through request to the borough administration is an inconveniently and awkwardly formatted municipal data sheet which apparently is intended for submission to state regulators. I would inquire of council members what percentage of the average citizen they think could substantially understand the document.
Well, the entire budget is now on the borough website in a PDF file format. And if anyone has any specific questions.
Yeah, well, that PDF format, it's the same exact document I was talking about. Okay, it's formatted worse shit. I mean, you can't read it. You got to scroll, sideways to read the forms. I mean, it's just stupid. It's all in, CPAEs. It's just, it doesn't get, it's really, it's work to read it, to figure out what's going on. And, to say it's, the point is, it's a copy of a state form. It's not a budget document that should be a budget presentation that should be prepared for the public so the public can understand what you're spending the money on.
About the budget, they're free to contact myself or the borough CFO, and we'll sit down and spend as much time as necessary with any citizen to explain anything that's in the budget.
Except me.
And just a few follow-up questions. As I can substantially understand the document, I would ask the council to define and explain. First, by what exact percentage will the municipal budget increase?
I think Councilman Andrews said it was 12.
By my calculation, done in my head, 12.6%.
I have a slightly smaller calculation. I had 9.65%, but and that was based on just the total increase of appropriations from 2006 to 2007.
And I used, what did I use? I guess I used revenues that we needed to raise.
Okay.
All right, well, the difference in the numbers, probably are, this is the explanation. The 12.6 is the actual increase in the municipal budget. And the 9.2 or whatever he said is the increase once you add in the school budgets. I think that's the difference in the numbers. But look, can't even answer a simple question.
600,000 in surplus is deliberately created by over-appropriating funds. Is this the council's definition of an honest accounting method?
Well, the practice of maintaining a budget surplus, otherwise known as a fund balance, and utilizing that surplus to stabilize the tax rate is a legitimate and appropriate governmental budgeting tool. Because all budgets are estimates in their very nature, a surplus, if a municipality plans accordingly, should be anticipated. Surpluses are created by a combination of either, one, not purchasing all the goods and services anticipated for the fiscal year, or two, collecting more revenue than is anticipated during the fiscal year. The result is a fund balance or surplus. In addition, as a method of stabilizing the property tax rate, a fund balance serves several important functions. These include a source of revenue through the realization of interest, a source of funds in the event of an emergency, and a source of funds to ensure that there is adequate cash flow.
The next question.
Okay. This is such bullshit. All right, it's a simple question. You know what they're doing? They're saying, okay, say you have 5 accounts. You have the fish account, the vegetable account, and the potato account. They are overestimating how much they're going to spend for each one of those accounts, okay, to create an artificial surplus, all right, of $600,000, so they can pretend to have extra money. And what all it does is allow them to play, it's just fudge. They've just turned the whole budget into fudge, because none of it means anything. Because there will be some portions of the budget where they will that they are going to write down that they are going to spend $300,000 when they know in the past 5 years they've only spent $50,000. And they're just, and instead of honestly creating a capital account and calling it a cost overrun account or whatever you want to call it, instead of doing it honestly, they do it this fake and phony way. It's just a lie and a deception, and we shouldn't tolerate this. This is phony accounting practices, and whether everyone else is doing it or not, it's phony, and it really shouldn't be allowed. And it shouldn't be defended with a written speech defending preposterous accounting practices.
What's the total debt held by the Borough of Mendham?
I received information from the CFO today. The total outstanding debt by the borough is $5,247,000. $4,952,000 of that is in bonds, and we have a small amount, $295,000 in bond anticipation notes. The sewer debt is $3 million for $3,450,000.
Last question. As interest accrued on capital accounts is inevitably lower than interest paid on outstanding debt, and considering that the average taxpayer may very likely be receiving a return on personal equity many times higher than the return the municipality will generate, what is the logic defending your scheme for pre-tax residents to create low interest-bearing savings accounts fell ahead when the borough still retains unpaid higher interest debt obligations?
Well, I'm not exactly sure what Mr. Mosier here is talking about. What I can glean from it is that he's referring to the fact that perhaps we're putting aside money every year in a capital reserve account as opposed to paying off debt. I put this question to Sue, and one of the things that she commented back from it was the assumption is that the interest rate on our debt service is higher than the interest rate we're earning on investments is incorrect. The interest rate on bonds is 4%, and the interest rate on the one bond anticipation note is 4.1%. The interest we're earning on our accounts is 4.960%. Money by investing any of the surplus capital that we put aside.
All right. I mean, I'm probably not going to have enough time to really give this what it should be. He's basically saying they are making money by borrowing money. That's what he's saying. And if that's so, if that's actually so, they're making more money borrowing money. They could borrow the money, put it in a savings account, and they'll make more money on the savings account than they will pay for the borrowed money. You get me? So the town of Mendham can now borrow $10 million, put it in a savings account, and make money net. That's what they're basically saying. All right? Now, doesn't that sound a little silly? Just a little bit silly, but let's say it is actually true because of the way the state and everybody else engineers this bullshit. Let's say it is actually true, which it isn't, that they're making money on borrowed money. Why aren't they letting us in on it? So why doesn't the town allow people to prepay their property taxes and get a 3 or 4% discount on their taxes? You could save 3 or 4%. Why don't they allow people to do that? Why don't they allow people to prepay their taxes and save 3 or 4%? That's what could be done. Because then the town could still make an extra percentage point or 0.9% on the deal. Why doesn't the town open an ATM? I mean, they could run a simple savings account system where they allow people to essentially provide them money to invest and save for them, that they could use. Say they could cash 4 checks a year out of that account. It would be so simple to manage. I could manage it on my home computer here, no problem. And the town could make money, and the citizens could make money. Wouldn't it be nice to have an account where you could get 5% return on your money, and it would be completely liquid and disposable? I mean, it'd be right there. Why don't they let us in on it then? I mean, if it's such a great deal, if they're getting such a great deal, why don't they let the people of Mendham in on the great deal? I mean, this is just such a, can't you smell this? I mean, what kind of, and then my point really was, though, is that people's personal equity, rich people especially, are making 10 or 15% on their money. So borrowing or taking their money 2 or 3 years in advance of the thing they're going to pay for obviously is counterproductive.